Hey, right on.
Right. We are live on YouTube. You know what that means? It's time to get into some daily briefing action. Greetings, Tim. Greetings, Ethan, and greetings everyone else who is dropping in here. We'll give everyone a minute because there's always 10 or 20 people that show up, 30 seconds, 60 seconds in? So, Tim, this will give you an opportunity to say hello. Happy Monday to you.
Hello and happy Monday to you. Joel, I think that you and I have been living out these last, we'll say like 4 weeks very differently. I've been thinking about that this morning as I'm heading home finally after a road trip. You've mostly been stationary. I know that you went to Georgia for the weekend. But I think there's probably a comparison and contrast between what we've done, how we've handled the last few weeks, and then even what we're thinking, how we're processing what's going on in the industry, what's going on in the world around us. We should catch up. I don't know if it's the daily briefing or our Rev Thoughts podcast, but something that makes me think like, I hear you say certain things in our meetings. I think like, wow, Joel and I are living very different kind of existence in this time.
No, we do. We need to like hash that out. I think we should do it on the podcast. That way, since it's just a two-way conversation, you and I sort of debating the finer points of opening up versus getting back to work versus staying as safe as possible. Yeah, we could definitely have a pretty energetic conversation about that.
And it'll be good because I've been trying to process like, I know I'm not insensitive to what people are thinking and feeling and expressing, but my reality has been somewhat different. So I don't know if I'm just more open to something. I don't have a sense of fear or dread as I do things, but obviously spending yesterday on the beach in Newport Beach with not thousands of people, but hundreds of people out there enjoying Mother's Day definitely is a very kind of healthy mentality I've had. So we'll pick that up later. Sure. But happy Monday to you, to the daily briefings. It's good to be with you and keeping this going. Although we should say, maybe I'll cue you up for this, but we should start talking about what our plans are going to be for the next 2 weeks, because we're going to kind of move this and transition our daily briefings into something else.
Yes, we are finally answering the question, what next? Because a lot of people are, and this is the topic for today, right? Where do we go from here? And what do I need to do to be thriving? And Tim, you and I are pumped that we're going to transition and take a lot of these people here and a lot of our clients through, we call it an 8-week accelerator. Like, let's take people through like, all right, what do we need to do in these essential 4 ingredients in order to be in a position to thrive as the economy starts to come back and as things start to open up. So I'm very excited. I think it's going to be a great roadmap for people that are like, I've been hearing all these ideas and there's lots of cool things and I've gotten little nuggets, but what's the structured way that I can put the pieces in place and actually start moving forward?
Yeah, well said. We've been kind of cherry picking, haven't we, for the last few weeks, different ideas and thoughts, and we dealt with issues as they come up. But quite honestly, we have a thriving creative firm model that we know has works. And when we start with companies from scratch or going through transition, we always go back to the fundamentals, go back to the basics. And then when you and I have processed for the last really 2 or 3 days, thinking through all the modules we have, all the conversations that we've reviewed over the daily briefings, we've decided to kind of rebuild these accelerators that we have and make it COVID centric, make it important to kind of know. Here's what I know. You're gonna have to be strong, get through June. July is gonna be a totally different game because we're gonna go into a fall season. The fall season's always busy, doesn't matter, the needs are there. The networks are trying to figure that out. That's gonna give them a time for a runway. The advertisers and marketing folks are following that same pattern because basically summer's over and we're gonna know something more. And we need our folks to be ready, queued up, and to take on those challenges. And my fear is that if you wait and you're waiting for everyone else, you're gonna miss the boat. And if you miss that boat, there's gonna be a gigantic gap between those that are on and moving forward and those aren't. So we want people to prep and get ready to go.
That's right. So no pressure, Tim, right? We got to get everyone together and be like, okay, here are the fundamentals. But I'm happy to give everyone like that quick overview of what I think will inform the topics that we're going to go through as we go through this this Accelerator, and we don't have a name for it yet. We haven't made an official announcement yet. But I was thinking, Tim, it might be helpful for me to walk through the concept so everyone can understand. Okay, cool. Here are the fundamentals. So let me see if I can. I'm going to see if I can share my screen and show this. So tell me, Tim, if you can see this, and hopefully when it goes full screen.
Yeah, you're all good.
Okay, cool. So here, this is the very, very simple model that I call the thriving creative firm. We talk about this a lot. Here's the big question, because everyone is basically saying, hey, I just want to produce great work. I want to do amazing work. I want to be thriving. I want to be busy. And of course, everything that goes with that, meaning earning a good living, having a steady life and a lifestyle and so forth. So here's what we want, right? This is the top of the pyramid. We want great work. And if I told everyone, great, just go get great work, you're all good to go, they would say, okay, wait, how about, what do we do next? And I would say, well, there's something that feeds great work. And great work comes from, here's my next little stack in the pyramid, right? Better clients. Pretty obvious. But if I just told you that's the solution, go get better clients. Tim, go get better clients, you would say,
Sure.
Okay, how do I actually do that? So underneath that, we have this thing we call powerful outreach. And outreach means you can reach out, you can connect with those better clients, and in a way where you are not just a service provider, but you're an expert firm, you have an expertise, you have a point of view. So even that is a whole set of, okay, I kind of understand what that means, but how would I even do that? And I'll say this, what's beneath that on my little stack is narrow positioning. So this is where we're starting to realize, okay, cool. Now I'm seeing why this is actually pretty tricky. This is hard to do, because how do I narrowly position so that when I do that outreach, I can get those better clients? And then the bottom of the bottom is focus on your genius. So this is getting clear about where does your true greatness lie. From that, you derive this narrow positioning, which you use to take your expertise and build trust out into the world. That forms the basis of powerful outreach. And now you see how it all stacks up. And of course, what most creative entrepreneurs do is they say, well, I don't really like selling. I just like closing. Like, I just want the project. I just want the work. And our encouragement is there actually is a method to stack these things up. And this is that set of fundamentals we want to help everyone grasp, because we think over the next 8 weeks, we can get people in a strong position to move forward with all these things in place.
And Joel, what I love about this and this discovery really is many folks will tell us it's the whole catch-22, right? Better clients, good work gets better clients. And they believe it's this circle, and you have to have one, and you have to basically get lucky to have one before the other one comes. And some people are lucky, or some people have a breakthrough with projects, and really it feels like the waiting game. What we really discovered is that by following this model, you can actually feed the better client. You can actually pursue the better client, reach out to them directly, narrow your positioning, make yourself relevant to that client. That's what gets your foot in the door, is something that's relevant in a value proposition. That better client begets better work. And then, of course, then it's an upward spiral from there. So many of the clients that come to us that are in a downward spiral, kind of stuck, haven't transitioned or grown in 4 years, 5 years, people feeling burned out, it's really this infusion of the basics. So
yeah, in fact, let me comment real quick, because I think one encouragement I would say is there's this myth, you've heard me say it before many, many times, that it's all about the work. And because people think, well, if we just produce that brilliant work, clients would give us projects like that. And that's, it's a chicken and egg situation. And I would just say it's not true. It's just not true. You don't have to have great work to go after better clients and produce great work. Sure, it helps. I mean, obviously, there's studios and firms out there that take advantage of that and leverage it, but you don't need it. You can build up a positioning and build trust and get out there with your expertise and create opportunities without having this amazing portfolio that you just keep wishing you had.
Yeah, and the confirmation bias is one of the most cruel factors in this, right? Because many companies spend tens of thousands of dollars repeating someone else's success. And because someone's successful at it, they believe that's the only way to get there. But we talked to hundreds and hundreds of agencies. Many of them have tried to do personal work or these little pet projects, and so much of that is really just a waste of money. When what they could do is actually focus on a certain marketplace, try to hit certain clients, and then if you're going to invest in a project or invest in some work there, you actually have a very narrow target to hit with that project, and you're looking for really the next step. Too many of us try to launch a rocket off the pad the first time, and really you're just looking for the next step and the next step and next step in a growing progress. And it can happen soon. It doesn't have to take years upon years to turn it around.
Yeah.
So let's pivot this conversation a little bit into like what that means for us and what we're thinking of for the next 8 weeks for our listeners, because really we know that we're going to start with the basis of a thriving creative model. But really what we know that you have to focus on is the creative is great. Which inspires marketing, which then leads to sales. And those are going to be the key aspects of what you want to focus on in the next 8 weeks. You have to be clear where your sales are going to come from. And we want you to have an 8-week target of those clients. We want you to look at your past calendars. We want to look at your past projects. We want you to know specifically what happens in the fall. And we want you to start doing slow, basic outreach to those people. And we're going to show people over the next, during this module, what those steps are and work people into that schedule to do that slow, increasing outreach.
Well, I will say this too, because I have to toot your horn, and that is, yes, positioning, marketing, sales. But then, of course, once they start winning projects, there's a question about how do we produce them in a way that we get the job done and we make money. And then there's this finance piece of how do we run the splits? Like, how do we dynamically run our business once we actually get those projects? Because we don't want people to just get a bunch of projects and then go waste all that money spending it on the client. They need to run their business, right?
Yeah. This is what's going to be so unique about the next 8 weeks for us is I don't think we've ever put all these pieces together. We did do this with ProMax when we did Creative Entrepreneurs years ago, but it was like once a quarter. To do it all one after the other, I think the pennies are really going to drop because you're right. It's not just finding those projects, but then it's qualifying those projects, making sure that you're producing it within the parameters of the project, making sure you're still on the upside, because there's still going to be somewhat of financial burden happening. There's still going to be a qualifier for your company and some very clear financial objectives you have to overcome. And you have to be able to pass those on to your producers so your producers can be successful and keep on winning for you.
Yeah, I'm starting to get pretty excited because you're right. To see all these pieces come together and to put it into a really condensed format or structure, I think is fun. And I'm also excited because I know one component we've been talking about is positioning, and this is where one of my favorite things I get to do.
I know, right?
Do a lot of website roasts, right? And I was even going to put this out there to people that are watching. One thing that we will be doing in this 8-week process is let's look at your website and let's just talk turkey. And I'll pretend I'm Roger at DirecTV, and I'll be the one to tell you, you guys suck at marketing. This is horrible. This is not, should not say this. And this is actually something I do all the time. And it's a labor of love. Obviously, I mean it with, it's tough love, I should say. But it's a process that I think a lot of people would benefit from, is just having some outside voices say, look, you've got a wallpaper positioning. You're just trying to show a bunch of great work and expect that I can infer who you are and what you do. This is not actually leading with trust or with expertise, and to actually guide people through that process of here are all the things we need to fix. And how much I enjoy that, because it's like I get to be, the tough guy and beat people up. And of course it's all with a good intention.
Okay, so before this sounds too much like an infomercial and we're just trying to push a purple pillow or something like that along to all of our listeners, let's actually pause right here on website, because there's a really important aspect to website that we know that most of you can turn around your website in a very short amount of time. There's some very clear positioning you can put out on your website. It's a great landing spot for you, but really, Joel, let's be honest, it's actually not the catcher's net for everything, right? It's really a confirmation of what you do, what your positioning is for your clients, and what you're about. And there's a confirmation for people to know that are kind of, remember that whole model of like preservation, promotion. That's where people land that are in one of those two headspaces. They're trying to preserve the good work or the good model, and they're going to go to your website to confirm like, oh, you're one of those companies, I'll definitely be okay. Or they're in the preservation space, they're going to go to the same website and they're going to get confirmation of like, oh, you're the one that's going to give me the breakthrough that I'm waiting for. And I don't think a lot of agencies know or recognize the importance of that website as the landing page for their outreach, not the outreach itself.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because I did this a lot when I ran Impossible Pictures. I would hover over our website like it was the most important thing. It is important, but it's a bit like a business card, right? Meaning if you don't have one and somebody asks for it, you feel stupid when you say, oh, I don't have a business card. Yes, you have to have a great website, but it's a confirmation, like you said. When you do that outreach and you say, hey, I would love to connect with you, they're going to go and look at it and basically confirm you are who you say you are. But all you're really trying to do is create curiosity with someone saying, wow, these guys look really credible. They seem like they work with top brands. They seem like they have this really cool expertise. I'm curious. From there, the website is kind of done. It's kind of fulfilled its purpose. So it's not a big piece of that funnel, if we were going to use that word.
And I can't, it sounds like a Mark Twain quote, so I'm going to quote Mark Twain because it's very much him. But a website has the same fear of, it's better to keep your mouth silent and make them think you're a fool than opening your mouth and confirming it to be true. Websites have a very similar proposition. It's going to confirm that you are the right company or not the right company. And if you don't have your act in order when it comes to your website, people are going to land on that website and you're going to give them confirmation of one or the other. And there's really some very basic truths to behold when it comes to positioning yourself as a company, making sure that positioning is narrow, confirming that work and that workload on your website. And Joel, here's the number one thing we see when doing the roast. And I love watching your roast, by the way, because I could just feel people, pounding their heart and wondering why. But the number one thing I see companies do is they put everything on their website, good work and bad work. And what they do is call it current work, as if that's more relevant than good work. And they're just putting stuff on there. And if it doesn't match your positioning, if it doesn't match the kind of client that you're going after, if it doesn't match the kind of work that you're proud of, why in the world would you ever give someone confirmation that that's the kind of work that you do? You want to be very specific in who you are. And you and I know it. It's a whole wallpaper of like, look at everything we're doing. And then we expect the client to do the hard work and pick and choose to the work to find the roadmap for themselves. Foolish act. It's the wrong way to go about growing your company and getting to where you want to go.
Well, I'm thinking of something I learned a while back, which is a confused prospect never buys. Like a confused prospect never buys. And I'll just tell you, everyone's had this experience. Have you ever walked into a restaurant and they say, okay, page 1 is the Italian menu, page 2 is the Mexican, page 3 is our sushi board, page 4 is our whatever. Like all of a sudden you think, where am I? Like the
Jerry's Famous Deli in Hollywood is where you are, because Jerry's Famous Deli had that
menu. Right. But as soon as you become confused, you sort of hesitate. And then you go with what you know, right? The devil you know is better than the devil you don't. So yeah, that is a classic mistake. And I think too, I've had some clients, meaning buyers, not our clients, our clients, buyers out there tell me that, look, just showing a bunch of work, I don't even know what I'm looking at. You are expecting me to infer who you are, what your power and your purpose and your personality is. It's just not helpful. You're not guiding me. You're not leading me. It's almost like you're just showing me this a la carte menu. And I can't help but call you up and say, well, I guess you wash windows and I guess you do back rubs and I guess you do visual effects. And that I'm suddenly supposed to buy from you now. So we want to help people understand there's a much better way to get prospects and new business through that funnel, if you will. I kind of hate that word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, and let's point to this obvious point too. And the reason why we're going to kind of concentrate this work in such a short amount of time, the PPP money is going to run out for many people. They're going to be looking at their cash flow, knowing that they're going to have to start paying their own bills again in the next 6 to 8 weeks. Projects have to come in order to land that stuff, and the project positioning that you're out there doing can't be tone deaf to the COVID crisis. So even more relevant is everyone should be updating their website today. Everyone needs to be updating and positioning today. Everyone needs to create a different level of confidence today, and everyone should be focusing on their targets today so that they know in 4 weeks that they have projects that are coming in, they have prospects that are landing, they have people that are verifying things, they're asking for bidding in 4 to 6 weeks. So you can't be looking at old models, old work, old positioning, meaning even if you launch your website in January, that's old right now. You have to be very specific. And the beauty of your marketing, your website, your positioning emails is they can be relevant to this moment. And then 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 15 weeks, even in the year, you're going to take the same principles we're going to teach you, and then you're going to convert your website again to that relevant market. My guess will be you'll probably change your positioning, not your positioning, but change your marketing and your outreach probably 4 to 6 times in the next year. As this evolves, as it changes, as you listen to something new, it's going to take advantage of a new marketplace, new opportunities, and you're going to work your way through it. It's very, very important to know what those basics are, so you have that scorecard, and you and your marketing team and your employees can all build relevant work to make that happen. But I'm just begging people, please, because I've had way too many conversations in the last 4 days about people trying to take the PPP money and then doing a pet project, just like a spec work. And they're basically going to burn through cash, hoping that they have something really gorgeous for a landing page or a website or an email blast. Yeah, I know you're cringing, Joel.
Hope is not exactly a plan. Hope is not a plan, right? Well, exactly I really love the point you made, and let's open this up because I know you and I can be on a roll and start going nuts. So if you have a question about this, like how does this work? What's it going to look like? If we have any answers for you, of course, Tim and I are happy to share our thoughts. And I've got a couple people already pinging me, Tim, saying, "Yeah, I'll be a willing victim to one of your website roasts." So maybe later in the week we can find an opportunity to do some of that as well. But you're right; it is a unique moment right now that we have enough clarity that people are like, "Okay, we're slower, so we have some time and some bandwidth. We've had this reset. We all went home. We've all been working remote. We're now open to new ideas and new approaches." We also, some of us got money. Some of us got a cushion called, I've got 4 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever, of money. And so we want to encourage everyone to use this time wisely and invest. Don't just wait for all the lights to turn green down the road before we hit the gas. Let's move forward right now and see what we learn and make our decision at the next light and the next intersection and the next fork in the road.
Yeah. And you know me, Joel, like I back that stuff up. I talk to my clients. We spend money on similar work, but the key to all of that is return on investment. If you don't know what your ROI is going to be, if you don't know how you're going to get a return, if you don't know where the marketplace is going to hit, it's just throwing cash at the wind with the hope or desire or luck that you might get something. When you can be very specific, you can do the work that you want to, you can do specific outreach, and you can make specific internal projects to make that ROI happen. But you have to have some key things in order. Let's just go over we have 7 ingredients. Let's go over some of those ingredients and thoughts that we would kind of maybe 1 or 2 words, maybe we'll say 1 or 2 sentences for each of these ingredients we think might be important over the next 8 weeks. So we talked about marketing already. Joel, why don't you summarize marketing in 2 sentences? What's going to be important in the next 8 weeks to deal with marketing?
Well, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go to our website and because we've boiled this all down right before, so I don't misquote ourselves. So when we talk about marketing, we're talking broadly about positioning and doing publicity, outreach, and laying the foundation so sales can do its work.
Hey, why don't you share your if you're on our website,
sure.
Get it visible. Otherwise, we're just losing them to our website. Obviously, revthink.com.
I'm just at revthink.com/the7 ingredients with hyphens. But this this was this crazy seven dwarfs diagram we did so many years ago, Tim. But yeah, the things that we're realizing is if I was going to focus on get my business ready to thrive again, you and I walked through this and we realized this is what we have to help everyone do, is focus on these areas of marketing, of sales, of production, and finance.
So
the other ingredients are obviously critical. Say again?
Yeah, let's go top one. Let's just go top one and do first one, creative. Let's go to work our way down. So starting with creative, the capability of our team and the work you produce.
Yep.
Many of you have had to do this anyway, but this is a great time to refresh your team. There are people you might have laid off. The COVID crisis might have created some openings in your own employee roster, but also might have other people out in the marketplace that weren't available before. And this is a great opportunity to reset your team. You want to have a team that will be successful in the new marketplace. Don't be looking at your own team only. Use some critical thinking. You are a business owner and you have to be thinking business when it comes to your creative team. But you want the capability, you want the effort, and you want the names to be available for those clients.
Yeah, and then I'll take production, guiding clients, managing resources, and then actualizing and maintaining the splits. This is where we get really proactive about the way we manage projects. And then we're not just a service provider, but that expert firms guide and lead their clients through the process. And this is one of the ways they create way more value than just the order taker firms out there.
Yep. So we'll go we'll go to marketing. And again, we kind of talked about this a lot, but it is the positioning, publicity, and outreach so that you can lay the foundations for your sales. And then just on the piggyback of that, your sales and your sales pipeline. This is where sales gets to work. You have to have some infrastructure in place to capture those leads, to convert them, to work them through a sales pipeline. And you want to be able to fail fast. We want to find clients that are qualified, that produce the kind of work that you're interested in, that will give you the money that you want to, or as we call the 3 R's. We want your real, we want your revenue, and we want the relationships to all kind of be built up as you bring on those projects.
I love it. And then finance is the, what do you do with the money, right? We're measuring it, reporting it, and projecting it. And that's, of course, what we need in order to make decisions to keep you moving forward and so you can be a going concern.
You know, operations is usually happening. I call it the mortar between the bricks. It's happening between people. It's the communication about communication that we often do. And not all of us are big enough to have an operations lead, but we all are dealing with operations every day. Where you deal with Slack and Slack channels, Google Drive. We deal with how projects are built, the kind of software we work with. All those, including your legal team, your finance team, and simple as timesheets. All those are very important to kind of simplify, work proactive, and build a machine that works for you so that you don't have to work at 2 a.m.
And then lastly, entrepreneurship. I guess we're not going to put a lot of focus on these two ingredients over the 8-week sprint. But entrepreneurship for the long term is all about your focusing on your genius. Leadership, it's about having a vision, and then ultimately even having an asset that you're growing and having an exit strategy. So that's a pretty rapid fire crash course in the 7 ingredients, what they are. But clearly, I think everyone here can see, oh, right, if I don't understand and to some extent master each of those ingredients, any one of those could kill me. Because here in this pandemic, Tim, what the virus revealed is where all of us are weak. It exposed our weaknesses. And now we're realizing, oh crap, I've had so many clients that are like, man, when the economy was hot, projects were kind of just showing up and clients were, handing us money. And now they realize they're actually really weak in sales, even though they thought they had sales. They weren't actually doing the work of sales. So
our expectation is we're probably really going to have between 40 and 50 people joining us during this 8-week course. So it will be something that we will have open conversations about, be able to ask questions. We'll do some of that website roasting for each of the people that are joining us. And we'll be able to speak to some very specific issues that you're talking about. And we want to kind of keep it small. So we'll have only a slight opening and availability. But the key to it is that we know that we've been cherry picking items for the last few weeks. Many of you had questions about the transition, and those transitions are very important. If we go back down to the original name of RevThink, it's actually revolution thinking. And the term comes from a revolution is a time of change, and thinking is just consulting. So we've been a study of change and catalyst for change for people for many years. This is one of those moments that I know with certainty it's so important to take advantage of. The world is changing around us, it just has, and we have a huge opportunity to be thinking about it in a proactive way, be leaders in our field, do the work it needs to take to kind of keep things going. And we want to get back to our roots, make sure it's there, and be very relevant to this moment. It will be relevant to the moment. We've never done this kind of compilation before, as we said, but I know for the next 8 weeks,
Greatest
it's going to
hits,
be
right?
so important. And I can't, you know me, Joel, I've been talking about the burden I've been feeling to communicate with people what I see and what I feel and what I hear, and talking to many, many agencies on a daily basis, and then our clients on the other side. There's just going to be something great. And I would be so sad if people, if a wave happened and people didn't be able to catch it. So as many people as we can to kind of catch this wave, we want to do it. I will feel like a failure if we don't do this and do it right.
Oh, well, of course I agree. Ethan is barking at me that we're at our 30-minute mark.
Went too fast.
So I'm going to mention this one last thing. I'm going to mention this other one last thing, Tim, and that is something that we have definitely discovered in this process of bringing groups together and going through the process together is this incredible strategic byproduct of community, where you're getting into the mosh pit with other owners and processing the same questions. How are you answering this question? How are you dealing with this challenge? And those relationships it's so valuable. I mean, this is like the community of your peers. It is what is going to sustain your career over the long term. So this is something else I think is a really cool byproduct of what people are going to experience. So with that, I know we're at our mark. So any final encouragements as we wrap it up? We obviously can pick this up tomorrow. We'll continue to try and do this daily briefing, I guess, through the end of the week.
Sure. If I would be honest, this wasn't exactly the conversation that we were going to have, but I think you and I just seem very motivated and happy to be talking about some of these ideas. It's kind of exciting to think about it. What I want people to do is, this is Monday, May 11th. By this Friday, we're going to have some very kind of clear markers in place. And I'd love for people to reach out to us, ask us questions, anything we could do to help. And then you and I will actually kind of feel, maybe we have a deadline of tomorrow or Wednesday to put some legs on this idea to make sure we get there. And then we'll kind of be back to some of our usual programming. Our goal, though, we should be very honest, is probably by next Friday, maybe even as early as this Friday, we'll probably convert the daily briefings to something less frequent than every day. So any last minute thoughts, ideas, or comments that you have, please start sending to us now. Obviously, we're still live in the Slack channel, this chat session, and our emails. But we'd love to just kind of keep up with you and know what's happening with each of your firms.
So more to come. Well, as we wrap up today, thank you for everyone that was here. I got to give a little quick shout out. Thank you to our
Is that our sponsor?
Yeah, exactly. Not quite. And also to say that's thanks to Jay and Teresa, and then thanks to Zach and Mark at Ghost Robot for the awesome mug. This is my little plug where I've invited a lot of our clients and also friends in the industry. Like, hey, if you want me to wear your swag while I'm in my live streams, send it away. Send away, because I'm going to be wearing these things proudly, putting our favorite people in the world on display.
I love it.
All right, everyone. Thank you for being part of the daily briefing. I hope you found this inspiring. I know this was rapid fire. Tim and I are firing a lot at you, but we'll continue to process it. And this week, I think, is going to be that time for us to say, all right, let's start putting pieces in place. And for those of us that are ready to get together in a group and start buckling down and doing our homework, it's going to be a fun ride. So thank you, Tim.
Of course. Just remember, we're here so that you can thrive in business, life, and career. Anything that Joel, I, or my team can do, please feel free to reach out and tell us. We're here to serve you. Thank you, Joel, for another beginning of a great week. And we'll see you on the Rev Thoughts podcast as we kind of bounce back and forth this idea of what COVID has been to you and I for the last few weeks.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm looking forward to it. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow for another daily briefing.